Canadian identity. During the 20th century, Canada was recognizing and identifying the most basic human rights that all Canadian citizens are entitled to, simply because they are human. For the past century, there were setbacks and advances. In 1885, the Chinese Immigration Act was passed, limiting the number of Chinese immigrants that were able to legally enter Canada and making each immigrant pay a $50 head tax. Henrietta Moyer Edwards, Nellie McClung, Louise McKinney, Emily Murphy, and Irene Parbley were activists advocating for females' rights. The Persons case made this group famous. In 1884, the Married Women's Property Act allowed females to buy, own, and sell property. The Election Act of 1916 gave Caucasian women the right to vote. Gradually, all Canadian provinces granted females the right to vote. On April 17, 1982, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms was passed. Canadians were granted the right to life, protection, property, and freedom of religion, speech, assembly and association, and the press. This charter made equality for all genders and races one of Canada's main identifying objectives. Canada is comprised of many cultures and races. All Canadians have diverse originating backgrounds, with roots mainly throughout Europe and Asia. Traditionally, people from the United States or Britain immigrated to Canada. At the beginning of the 20th century, Clifford Sifton, the man responsible for immigration at the time, used false advertising propaganda to attract European citizens to emigrate. Between 1880 and 1919, 24 million European immigrants emigrated. Canadian immigration policies were minimal. The first real restrictions on immigration were implemented in 1914 when the government created a control service group. Through acts made in 1906 and 1910, immigration officers gained the ability to refuse the entry of new immigrants into Canada. Immigration policies have gradually become stricter because Canada has become known as an accepting and welcoming nation for immigrants and refugees. While Canada has become a mosaic of cultures, there are three founding groups: the English-speaking, the French-speaking, and the Aboriginal peoples. English people have always been the more dominant culture, often persuading or manipulating the other cultures through proposals and documents. The Royal Proclamation, Quebec Act, and Constitution Act have both positively and negatively affected these relationships. Through the nature of these relationships, interactions among the three groups have frequently been tense and hostile. Recently, the Canadian government has made amends to fix these relationships through public speeches and the establishment of organizations meant to better these relationships. On June 11, 2008, Stephen Harper made a formal apology to children who attended residential schools. The Prime Minister is a figurehead, spokesperson for Canada, and a major symbol of the country. Canadian citizens also identify themselves with symbols: the Canadian flag, the maple leaf, maple syrup, maple trees, the beaver, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the sports of hockey and lacrosse. These symbols have become internationally recognized. Canada is known for being the peacekeeping country, helping to resolve international disagreements and conflicts. To be Canadian means to be entitled to basic rights and freedoms and be protected by laws, to be part of a multicultural country and have diverse family roots originating throughout the world, to have complicated and dynamic relationships among French-speaking and Aboriginal peoples, to find pride in the maple leaf or consuming an unhealthy amount of maple syrup on a daily basis, and to be known globally for spreading peace. Canadians should be proud of their identity.